What creates the edge? The passionate, vital, exhilarating experience of enjoying, appreciating, and making the most out of every moment of your life. We all know people who have the edge. You can see it in their eyes. You notice it when they walk into a room and take charge. These people seem to have it all. The relationships, the energy, the finances, and the freedom of living their lives on their own terms. We all want the edge, but how do you achieve it? For over a quarter of a century, Anthony Robbins has dedicated his life to helping people discover and put into action the tools, strategies, and resources that give them the ultimate edge. As a result, he is now the leader called upon by leaders and the world's premier peak performance consultant and turnaround expert, having coached over 3 million people from 75 nations around the world. Tony has met with world leaders like Nelson Mandela, President Bush, and Mikhail Gorbachev. He has advised and counseled people from every walk of life, from Fortune 500 executives to members of royal families, and from outstanding students and extraordinary parents to the President of the United States. In sports, he has coached professional athletes such as Andre Agassi and Greg Norman, and teams from the America's Cube to the NHL and NBA. His best-selling books are read in 17 languages, and his educational audio system, Personal Power, is the #1 personal and professional improvement system of all time. Tony Robbins' live events and audio programs are packed with step-by-step proven strategies and cutting-edge tools to transform every area of your life: your health, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, and your career. And like the energy and excitement of a great sporting event or rock concert, they are delivered in an entertaining format so that you not only learn, but experience the emotion that empowers you to follow through. Now, in Get the Edge, Anthony Robbins is your personal coach with his proven system for achieving the edge in your life, producing the extraordinary results and deep levels of fulfillment you both desire and deserve.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins. Welcome to Get the Edge. 7 days to transform your body, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, and your life. It's a mouthful, isn't it? Listen, if you're watching this right now, you're one of the few who do versus the many who talk. I've spent a quarter of a century of my life searching for the answer for what makes the difference in people's lives. Because everyone you talk to wants to change something. They want to improve something. But very few people want to do anything about it. So the fact that you're watching right now says 2 things. One, you made it through an infomercial, which I'm very thrilled about, because it's kind of hard not to be skeptical when you see something on television because there's so much garbage out there. And the promises that are made in this program seem rather huge. You know, to make that many changes in your life in 7 days, how in the heck could you really do that? So I appreciate that you're at least optimistic enough or open enough to not only get this tape, make it through the infomercial, but to be watching. And that's the second part, you're taking action. I believe the key to success is always momentum. The hardest part of changing anything is taking that first step. If it's working out, it's getting to the gym, and you're there right now. So I think you and I probably have a lot more in common than you probably realize if we're having this conversation right now. Now let me tell you what this tape's about and what I want to accomplish briefly with you. This is not really the program per se. The program is done on a daily basis with a little bit of your time by helping you to make small changes each day and then condition them until they become a habit. We all know people that know what to do, but they don't do what they know. And in this program, we're going to be reminding you, hopefully, some things you know, but getting you to do it, but also giving you some elements that are truly the cutting edge and making a sizable difference in the quality of your life. If you came just because you wanted to make a few small changes, those are available here. But if you really want to revolutionize your life, that's what I perceive that most people really want. We don't want to just make a relationship a little better. We want to revolutionize our relationships, revolutionize our economics, our finances, revolutionize the strength in our bodies or the passion that we have in our emotional life. If that's what you want, the tools are here. But they're broken down into a simple process. This tape, after my brief introduction here, is going to send you back to the tapes, or give you an opportunity to learn a brand new technique, something that's been studied now by 40,000 people in 58 countries, on how you can, in literally 3 minutes a week, maybe 6 if you're really stretching it, maximize the amount of physical strength in your body so that you have the energy and the dynamism, the sense of confidence that'll get you to take action like never before. Now, 3 minutes a week sounds like amazing hyperbole, like total exaggeration, and you're probably waiting for me to say yes, and I'm gonna give you some black spray so you can pretend you have hair on your head even if you're bald. But hang in there with me, I don't mean that. This is really real. I'm gonna take you through a process called static contraction, an interview with 2 experts that are gonna show you how you can lose the fat in the shortest period of time and add some strength, some shape, or some muscle so that you have that kind of power that we all deserve to have. When you change your body, you tend to change how you feel mentally and emotionally as well. But most people don't start here. They start with the audio tapes, and in this particular program called Get the Edge, we've actually given you more than we've promised, and I've always liked to do that. I like to promise one thing and deliver much more. So in this program, you'll notice that you received also a very famous program called Personal Power. It's the first week of the most successful personal achievement program of all time. More than 35 million of these tapes have been distributed worldwide. And even though we promised you Get the Edge, I wanted to give you the first week of Personal Power because Get the Edge is the best that I've learned and an update of what I've created at this stage of my life. But Personal Power I generated initially, and it gave me the tools to change my conditioning. You know what I mean by that? Those habits that get in your way. When you know you should do something, but something holds you back, whether it be a fear or a frustration or feeling overwhelmed or not knowing where to start. Or maybe there's some old beliefs that intellectually you know better than, but emotionally they still affect you. So what Personal Power does, and I'm gonna encourage you to start with that after listening to the first tape of Get the Edge. I'll clarify that. As soon as you're done here, I'm gonna offer you the opportunity, if you want to listen to the first CD or tape of Get the Edge, because it's gonna teach you a system that you can use for the rest of your life to make sure each day you really have that edge. You know, in the introduction of this video, we talked about what is that edge. You see it when people walk in the room. You see it in their energy and their smile and the way they connect with people. They have the body, the emotions, the relationships, the finances. They got the life everybody else wants. And that edge, that advantage in life is not over other people, it's the edge with yourself. It's knowing yourself, and then it's being yourself. This program really isn't so much about changing you as it is getting to know yourself and making sure that the real you, however you are, dynamic, quiet, integrated, sensitive, strong, all those parts of you that are most important start showing up on a daily basis. So in the first CD or tape of Get the Edge, we're gonna teach you what we call our hour of power. Something you can do in an hour, or you can do in as little as 15 minutes each morning to set yourself up so your mind, your body, and your emotions give you the greatest advantage of that day to enjoy your life, to suck all the juice that's available out of every day, and to produce the greatest results you could possibly imagine. You're gonna find that I really believe that everyone wants an extraordinary quality of life, and I know you do, or you wouldn't be sitting here watching me as this maniac talking to you on this bobbing head screen. This is kind of a weird way to learn, but people that are successful do what nobody else will do. Successful people do what the failures would never even consider. They find a way to self-study. They find a way to get the answers nobody else will. They're willing to take a risk, make it happen. But they also have some simple habits that allow them to succeed not just once in a while or be happy not just once in a while, but to literally develop those emotional muscles, those psychological skills that allow you to take whatever challenges show up in your life and turn them to your advantage. So in that first hour of power, that first CD, you'll learn that foundation. And then I'd like to encourage you, if you're willing to take advantage of the gift I've given you here by giving you Personal Power and go through that week first. We said it's 7 days to change your life. I've given you 14, right? You can even stretch it out further if you want. But if you listen to Personal Power, the reason I'm giving it to you is because the sessions are a little shorter and their focus is on how to change your conditioning. On that very first CD or audio tape, you're gonna be making a decision or two that you're gonna take action on immediately. Ultimately, I'm talking about a lot of things here, but what shapes our lives is our decisions. I mean, you look at your destiny and see how your life has turned out. I personally believe in a force obviously greater than ourselves. I call it God. I don't know what your term is. I'm not here to tell you what to believe spiritually, but I do know one thing. We all know something has given us the gift of life, and the only way we're going to maximize it is if we make some new choices. Decisions change our lives. If you look back on your life, for example, say over the last 10 years or so, and you want to know why your life is the way you have it today, the things you love about your life and the things you don't like, Invariably, it comes down to decisions you made. Sometimes there were little decisions, they seemed like, at least at the time, like you're heading in this direction and you made a 10-degree shift. It's a small decision. But when you take that decision out a week from now, a month from now, 6 months from now, you have a totally different destination or destiny. Haven't there been some decisions in your life that were tough, but you got yourself to do it, and as a result, your whole life changed? Maybe some decisions about your body, or your relationships, or your finances, or your career, or your kids, or your relationship with your creator. I don't know what those decisions were, but I know those decisions shape us all. So in this first Personal Power CD, you're going to make a couple of decisions to get you started to really begin to make those changes right away. And we'll do it in a very short period of time. Well, as soon as you make those decisions about what it is you really want, what shows up? Obstacles. So we go to day number 2, and that's where we learn about the process of pain and pleasure and how to change the conditioning that really controls us. We all have fears we're aware of, but we also have some unconscious forces that stop us. Why do we procrastinate? Why do we take 2 steps forward and pull 1 step back? And how do you change that? What do we do to keep ourselves from sabotaging ourselves? That's what this day is going to be about. On day 3, you learn the power of associations to change your destiny. Day 4 is how do you create lasting change? The 3 ultimate steps that keep you from losing the weight and gaining it back, or from saying you're going to do one thing and then turning around and doing another. On day 5 is the goal-setting workshop. You're going to find this process to be so much fun because it's going to unleash you and get you to really think about what do you really want for your body, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, and your life. This tape will get you to maximize the use of everything else you're going to do in the Get the Edge product. And finally, you're going to learn the driving force. What are the 6 human needs that control every thought you think, every emotion you feel every day? Why do you sometimes take 2 steps forward and take 1 step back? Why do we sabotage, and how do you change it now? Now, when you're done with personal power, and by the way, you can do personal power like any part of this program. You can do it while you're doing other things, driving your car, or working out, or going for a walk, or maybe cleaning up around the house. This gives you a chance to maximize the amount of juice you have and have a lot of fun doing things that normally might be boring for you, and more importantly, make real progress in your life. But once personal power is complete, then you'll come back to Get the Edge. Now, you've already listened to the first CD. Hopefully you started with the Hour of Power. So now I have a couple of intensive workshops for you, because I believe it's wonderful to know what to do, but you got to take action. And each day of personal power, people who went through that program made 1 change a day. Now we're going to make several. We're going to really put on the juice. And the first day of workshop is really going to be a workshop where you focus on what is it in your life you've gotten used to. I don't know about you, but in my life, I've had things in my life that have happened that when they first happen, boy, they bug you. But after a while, you kind of adjust to it. Simple things like you buy a nice car, and the first time you get a scratch in it, you go crazy, but you don't want to feel crazy every day, so you make it okay. Or in your relationship, things are going great, and one day you kind of settle for something. Or in your business, or within yourself. We're going to find out what is it that you need to get disturbed about and change, and take you through a 7-step process to make that happen so the change, again, is lasting. You can do this in 1 day, or you can do the workshop over the course of 2, and it's described on those CDs or audio tapes. Next is the subject that affects people at a level that most people don't even acknowledge, and that's relationships. I mean, I don't care how successful you are in business, I don't care how much money you've made, I don't care how many people think you're wonderful, how many PhDs you have, how great your body is. If you don't have great relationships, you don't have a great life. And we've all been there at different times in our life, because part of human experience is going through changes. And I'll tell you, whether it's the relationship you want to have with your kids, that you want to be so connected, or with your business associates that makes you successful and enjoy your work, or to be that intimate relationship that matters most to most people, how do we really make that the greatest thing it could possibly be? We're going to take 2 CDs or 2 audio tapes. We can do it over 1 day or 2, depending on how much time you want to invest. And we're going to find out what does it take to really have that passion be fully alive. What causes relationships to get in trouble, whether it be a friendship or an intimate relationship, and how do you transform it? How do you really take it to the level that you really deserve to have? Where inside there is no doubt in your mind that the connection you have with this other person is the greatest gift in your life. I think you're going to find this to be maybe the most powerful part of the whole program. Many people come wanting to change their body and make more money, get to that point in life, and then they say, where's my life? I really believe in life, to have an extraordinary quality of life, you need 2 skills. You have to master the science of achievement. We do that with personal power and with Get the Edge. The science of achievement is how do I take whatever I can think about and turn it into reality? How can I turn dreams into my physical experience of my life, whether it be my body or my finances or my business or making a difference in the world or with my kids or whatever. But also the second skill of life is really not a science, it's really an art, and that's the art of fulfillment. being able to enjoy your life, not just achieve. If you achieve everything, if you're totally successful and you're unfulfilled, you're a failure. And many people have gone through that experience, or we know people like that. If you and I are going to really have that juice, we've got to make sure that we maximize the juice in our intimate relationships and our friendships, because relationship magnifies human emotion. It magnifies whatever else is important in your life. So I think you're going to find this workshop absolutely invaluable. The feedback I've had on it from people is, from, again, most people, one of the most powerful parts of the entire program for them. Day 4 of Get the Edge is called Pure Energy. Because those people have the edge, they have the energy, they have that charisma, they have that emotion that comes through them because the physical energy is available in their body. If you wake up in the morning, your brain says, let's go get them, and your body says, I can't get out of bed, you got a problem. And that problem often is not huge. Often it feels huge because you don't know where to start, but there are a couple of things you can do that will allow you to massively change the level of your energy. And some of them don't take a lot of big changes, like giant dietary changes, just small changes. Then we go to, how do you maximize your happiness, your joy, your emotion? Because if you have an extraordinary life, you have extraordinary emotions. Look, if every day you feel frustrated, or you're overwhelmed, or you're tired, or you're angry, or you're resentful, or you're sad, or any of those emotions, you're bored, then that's what your life is. Your life is your emotions. If your life is juicy, exciting, passionate, fun, loving, warm, playful, whatever it is, that's your life too. How do we change from the emotions that start controlling our life and tearing it down to the emotions that instantly change the quality of how we feel? That's what you're going to learn. And then finally, finances. Because if you want financial power, a lot of people say, well, money doesn't matter until you don't have any. You know, I can show you how to feel totally happy no matter what by making changes in what we call your physiology, your focus, and your beliefs. You're going to learn that throughout this program. How do I change in an instant how I feel? So that means you could be sitting here in your chair, totally blissed out, while all heck was breaking loose around you. You really can do that. But if you're watching this tape, you're probably living in a Western culture. In a Western culture, if you sit and bliss out, people come and take your furniture, right? So you can't do that. You got to also not only master your insides, but your ability to contribute to society, and to do so in a way that gives you abundance. An abundance not just for yourself, but an abundance that you can share. And that doesn't come from just earning more. You can earn and work as hard as you want for the rest of your life, but until you learn how to put money to work for you in very simple ways, you'll never be able to achieve what you really want. The principles of how to change your finances work for anyone. Whether you're someone who has $1 billion or $100, the same laws apply. If you apply them, financial freedom can be yours. And this will be the CD or tape that will get you started in looking at some of those principles and taking some action today to move yourself towards those steps of financial independence. And then finally, the last tape or CD is on the power of purpose. Because many people in life have forgotten why they're here. If we think it's just about ourselves, and we're just trying to get what we need, there's an emptiness in just taking care of yourself that'll never be filled. But when we feel like our life matters, like it means something more than just the day-to-day, then life has a spark that you can see in somebody's eyes. It gives them that enormous advantage and edge. And it's not an edge, again, with other people. It's an edge of joy. It's an edge of meaning. It's an edge that says, God, I am so grateful to be alive. And if you're really in a tough place, or you feel like you've gone through a huge loss, or maybe someone you love you lost, or someone you care about, this might even be a tape you'll want to listen to first. But ideally, you'll go through the system the way we've described. I know people are flexible. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. I'll just try to give you what I think would be ideal for you. So, and then there's one more CD we've added as a bonus, which is something called Daily Magic that you'll be able to use day after day if you choose to after going through Get the Edge. And again, this is a program you'll probably go through more than once. Now, can you really change your life in a week? Well, the answer is, of course, because you can change your life in a moment. I mean, think about it. Most changes happen in a moment. In that moment, you say, never again. In a moment, you say, let's begin, or I quit, or I'm beginning this business, or I love you, or I do. Or you look at somebody in a way you've never looked at them before, or you feel something in your heart you've never allowed yourself to feel before. All changes happen in a moment, so you can certainly do it in a week. But within a week, you can condition it. And if you decide to use all the tools we have given you here, it'll go beyond a week. See, life really is a process where you either have to keep growing or you start dying. At any moment in our life, it doesn't matter how successful we are, if we're not growing, we're not happy. And if we're not contributing beyond ourselves, we're certainly not fulfilled. So those two, I think, are the fundamental keys, and that's why I've been coaching now for a quarter of a century. It's hard for me to imagine, but that's what it's been. And so I've tried to just pack as much as I can here for you in a week, and my purpose in making this videotape before I showed you how to make these changes in your body was to hopefully get you to really think about what you want and get you to commit to say, you know what, I can do anything for a week, or for two if you want to do it over that time period. And in that time period, I can create the momentum that changes everything. And if you want additional momentum, I'd love to coach you personally. I do seminars, and they're intensive seminars. I only do a few a year. One is called The Revolution, and you'll see a couple quick video clips from some of these so you get a sense of what it's like. But if you can imagine not just being by yourself to do this, being in an environment where there are no distractions whatsoever, only a total focus on what you're after in life, being coached by somebody who's pretty good, and maybe outstanding at what I do because I've been doing it for so darn long. And imagine doing it with people that are committed to doing whatever it takes to make the change happen. It's kind of like, you know, going to the ballpark with 50,000 people or going to the ballpark by yourself. There's quite a difference in the dynamics that a group and an environment can create. So if you'd like to come to a seminar, we have a certificate for you, and I'd love to have you attend, or maybe you can join us at our Master University. That's a program we have for people from literally 76 countries around the world participate, usually translate 4 to 6 languages, and you'll meet people that are really living life at the edge they've defined, the advantage, the ultimate level of fulfillment where you know at the end of the day you have given your all and you fall into bed totally exhausted but victorious. If that's the kind of life you want, this is the beginning of taking your life to the next level. I'm sure you already have it or you probably wouldn't be watching. People who need this kind of stuff rarely take the time to do this. Also, I almost forgot. Make sure that you call us or get on the internet and get that personality profile. It costs normally $200. We gave it to you with this program. It's been done for 2 million people, and it will give you insights into how you really operate. It's custom done. You'll get about 25 or 30 pages back to you, and it'll describe to you your tendencies, what you value most, what behaviors show up under stress, and how to use them more effectively. And of course, if you want one-on-one coaching, please call us as well. So I'm just trying to offer you as many resources as possible, or you can use none of them and you can send this darn thing back if you think it's worthless. But if you really listen and take my 7-day challenge here, I know that at the end of a week, you will have started a whole new direction for your life and will experience a juice called you. Because it's nothing I'm going to give to you. It's the stuff that's already inside you. It just needs to be reawoken, or maybe it's awake, taken to another level, because there's always another level for somebody who wants more. So thanks for letting me talk to you. Take a look at these little clips if you're interested, and then turn the VCR off if you would, and go to that first CD on Get the Edge and get yourself started with that hour of power. Or if you really can't wait, keep watching and I'll pop back on and I'll set up the background for you of how you can literally in 3 minutes a week, 6 minutes max, maximize the strength of your body physically so that you'll want to use that energy in everything else you do. So I look forward to meeting you. I hope someday and hearing the story of what you've done to take your life to whatever level it is you're committed to. And I feel really privileged to have spent this time with you. God bless.
From his one-day business events, to his weekend revolution, to his ultimate exclusive Mastery University program, Tony Robbins has been educating, entertaining, and inspiring millions of people around the globe. Let's join Tony now on stage for a sneak preview of the energy and excitement of his live events as you begin your journey to attaining the ultimate edge in life, a life without limits, and a life where anything you dream about becomes a reality. The Weekend Revolution event is 3.5 days of powerful immersion into the finest strategies, tools, and resources available for creating an extraordinary quality of life.
So what is the revolution? It's an opportunity for you to really take your life to the next level, to live life at the peak as you define it, not by anybody else's standards.
The event was packed with things that literally just totally transformed my life.
Ready to walk on some fire? Crazies. Tonight is not about firewalking. The firewalk is just a fun metaphor. We're going to do some things tonight to show you how to get yourself to take action in spite of fears in all the areas of your life.
And that's probably one of the biggest accomplishments that I ever did. I mean, you walk on fire.
You'd think that'd be the highlight of the event. That was the first night. But when we left, nobody was even talking about that. There were so many other breakthroughs that we all experienced.
The first day I called home, I told my wife, this is not anything like what I was expecting. It's way more fun. It's 100 times better. And if it cost 10 times as much, this is where I need to be. Now, that's the first day. That's before it changed my life.
What we really want to learn how to do is get giant results, not just change the things we want. That's when your life takes off.
After listening to Tony Robbins speak about depression, I no longer felt like I had to be on antidepressants. And before I left my seminar, I told myself that I would go home, flush them in the toilet, have a burial at sea, and never take them again. And that's exactly what I did.
The only thing that changes your life is decision. If you leave here with more knowledge, that's nice. If you get inspired, that's nice. But if you make some decisions, that's change.
I stopped smoking. I lost 80 pounds. I totally changed my career where I tripled my income almost in the first month.
The ultimate Anthony Robbins event is Mastery University. 3 exclusive programs you attend in any order over the course of 18 months, designed to transform every major area of your life. Your health, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, and your career. Held in the most luxurious places on the planet, you will experience personal coaching from Tony Robbins. And you will learn from the finest instructors on the earth. Not just those who speak about creating an extraordinary life, but those who have actually achieved it. Life Mastery is Tony Robbins' most exclusive program. 5.5 days of ultimate focus on the areas of life that matter most as you rejuvenate your mind, body, and spirit in a setting of exquisite natural beauty.
Most people, if they're doing great in their business, they don't know their kids. If their kids are great, then their body's out of shape. If their body's in a great shape, then they're financially not in good shape. It's the nature of human beings to focus on what they're good at or what they're afraid about. So we want to show you how to balance all of that, and we have a system for doing that.
I make decisions every day that just make my life better. Just makes me happy.
Tony's 4-day Wealth Mastery event provides the strategies and systems for massively accelerating your financial returns.
Certain games have a limit to them. So if you enter a game, let's say you enter bonds, you get the very best bonds, you still are not going to see anything close to return as if you have the very best what? Stocks. Now, does that mean you should have no bonds? No, no, no. We want diversification.
My business was doing roughly about $4 million a year in sales, and within a 12-month time span, we went to over $10 million.
Tony Robbins' most intimate program, Date with Destiny, is a 5.5-day event where you will learn what it is you really want from your life as you identify the specific beliefs, values, and rules that are driving every experience and decision of your life.
It's about getting to know you for real, the real you, and having an extraordinary level of honesty with yourself. Forget everybody else, with yourself. So you can see the very best parts of you that you want to expand.
This was just an eye-opener to me. It just took me beyond where I ever thought I could be.
Welcome back, or if you never stop watching, welcome. Thanks for staying with me. Listen, I now want to share with you an interview and an actual process that we call 10 minutes to explosive muscle growth. Now, if you're a woman, you might be saying, I don't want explosive muscle growth, but I bet you want metabolism increased. I bet you'd like to be able to burn fat faster than you ever thought possible. I bet you'd like to be able to shape yourself in ways that aerobics never will. If so, be sure to watch. If you're a man and you want that strength, or you want that shape, or you want that cut, and you want to do it in the shortest time you ever thought possible, watch. Because what you're about to learn is the cutting edge in bodybuilding, the cutting edge in strength training that can show you, no matter what age you are, how you can produce the greatest result you ever thought possible in the shortest period of time, and at the end, not be beat up. at the end have that sense of strength in your body and power in your body that everybody wants. And the process has been documented by these 2 researchers, and it's been done now in 40,000 people from 58 countries. So it's not a question of whether it works or not. It's a question of, are you willing to give it a shot? So let's cut right in. Let's hear from a few people who've gotten results, and let's cut right into our interview, and let's learn about this process called static contraction. Sounds kind of weird, but I think you'll be more than intrigued. By the end, you may be running out very quickly to see if you can get into your gym today or tonight. So get yourself started, sit up in your chair, get some energy, and let's find out how to get another edge in our lives, the edge of physical power.
How can you take your body to the next level? Not only in terms of your diet and lifestyle, but how do you build muscle? How do you get rid of the fat? And most importantly, how can you do this in less time than you ever thought possible? In the next few minutes, join Tony on location at Gold's Gym as he shares with you the strategies and distinctions to give you the edge physically and to get your body into a state of optimum strength and peak vitality now.
Once you understand it and you do it, then the results are just obvious. You just feel so much better and you feel more connected, and it just helps in everything you do in your daily life.
By doing this, have you been able to see your strength continually improve then?
Every time I do it. I felt a great pump through the whole bicep. It contracts the whole thing, inner, outer heads and everything.
It's almost like cheating. I work out about once every 7 or 10 days, and it takes probably 10 or 15 minutes. It takes me twice as long to drive to the gym and back as it does to do the workout.
What you're going to learn is that you could accomplish more in a few minutes a week, literally a few minutes a week, than most people do who are working 3 hours a day, maybe 6 days a week. And what I'm going to share with you is not some pump up or some enthusiastic new technique from an infomercial on some machine. I'm going to show you is empirical knowledge, skills, a set of training principles, if you would, that when you apply them, you can see immediate measurable results no matter what you've been doing before in less time. Now, the people that I'm going to introduce you to that are going to be joining us here today have applied these. They're both researchers. They're both men who have had the experience of creating these changes in their own body, because, again, my ultimate test is results. You know, it's one thing to say you got endurance. It's another thing to be able to get your body to run 1,000 miles. I am so excited about what you've done here. I've just started to be exposed to the principles. I had one little mini workout. I couldn't believe the amount that I could lift. I couldn't believe how short the workout was, but how good I felt afterwards. I didn't feel beat up. I didn't feel dead. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I can't breathe, because when I'm a maniac. I do something, I do it full out, man. And so I almost felt like I was cheating. But the muscular development I felt just in this first little exposure was amazing. I'm literally just starting, so I want to come see you guys and hear from the horse's mouth what this is. Tell me a little bit how this came about. I mean, this is a huge breakthrough. It's the equivalent of understanding aerobics for muscles, really, I believe. So how did this science come about?
John and I have known each other since childhood. In our adult years, we never lived in the same city. But finally, in 1992, we were both living in Los Angeles. And John's a lifetime fitness advocate and wanted somebody to work out with him in the gym. And I went and did workouts with him, but I've never been a guy who liked to be in the gym or wanted to go there. Always had 15 or 20 places I'd sooner be.
Like you along with 250 million other humans, right? I feel the same way.
So when we started working out, my mind was towards efficiency. And how can we get the most out of this?
Most result in the shortest time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we started working out, and I was literally keeping track of the weight we lifted, the number of repetitions, the amount of time it took. And at the end of the workouts, I'd enter them into a laptop computer, and I had graphs and charts and a real analysis of it. And it's amazing to me that in at least a century of strength training, no one has ever taken an analysis of it that was based on just the simple laws of mechanics that come to us from Isaac Newton.
Right.
It's amazing to me that nobody did that, because the critical element in this is is work in a unit of time.
People just think of the number of repetitions.
Number of repetitions.
And it's arbitrary.
And you see it in the way people work out. You know, you see it in the way they'll, you know, they'll go over the dumbbell rack, they'll, you know, they'll do a little something. They don't maybe count the reps, they put it down, they look for a piece of equipment that's not being used in the gym. They go over and bang out a few reps on that. They go over and get a drink at the cooler. There's no sense of precision, of an awareness that the clock is ticking. But the fact of the matter is that that's the way you get muscle to grow. Right. So when we started to use that kind of analysis, things just took off.
You mentioned off the top the marathoner, and that's a perfect example of what Pete's talking about.
Right.
Marathoners do a great amount of work over a fair amount of time.
Right.
By contrast, you have a sprinter who does a great amount of work in a very short span of time.
Right.
But if you look at the muscular hypertrophy or the size of the muscles of the sprinter, it's always bigger than the marathoner.
Right.
And that's because they're packing a lot of weight, a lot of intensity, a lot of work, which is the technical formula for muscle growth in a given unit of time.
So the sprinter's got to use so much more force.
Absolutely.
But they got bigger muscles.
We have the luxury of being able to adjust and manipulate the weight, that variable.
Right.
And as a result, we can bring more intensity to bear on a given muscle group than a sprinter can. In fact, if you watch a sprinter, when he finishes, he's winded, he's tired, there's lactic acid throughout his legs. But within about 2 minutes or so walking around the track, he can probably run again.
Right.
You know, you do a set of static holds with 2,000 pounds to the point of failure, and you'll be lucky if you can stand up initially.
Let's talk about you guys from a result perspective. Besides shaping your body, and everybody has a different genetic shape.
Right.
You know, people can put up the same effort, not get the same result, obviously. And there are a lot of people in bodybuilding that are augmenting that shape,
yes,
obviously,
indeed. Yeah.
with a variety of drugs and so forth. But just you guys, you're both natural bodybuilders, or I shouldn't say bodybuilders. You work out a couple minutes a week. Tell us what your regimen is now. This is what's going to blow people's mind. And tell us with this regimen, how much progress did you make?
First of all, I'd never considered myself a bodybuilder, but I'd be more in the category of a power lifter type person.
Okay.
But when I started out in this, I was a conventional trainee. I did the things that everybody did. Very full range of motion. You mentioned a shrug. Typically, I did it the way most people do. Go over to the dumbbell rack, pick out a couple of dumbbells. May or may not have noticed what they weigh.
And why dumbbells?
Just that they matched.
Greater range of motion. Yeah, they matched. Yeah, they matched.
Just get two that match. And you know, I'd bang out the shrugs until.
Like what weight were you using back in that minute?
Oh, maybe 60 pounds per dumbbell.
Right.
That was a big weight.
And that was a big weight. And you know, you do 3 sets of 12 reps or something like that. You start to feel some, you know, real fatigue in your trap muscles. When we switched to static contraction, the range went down to 0 range of motion. And a static hold for 10 seconds with 1,000 pounds.
Oh my God!
And that was.
I mean, can you imagine people watching, listening? I hope they get a picture of this. Shrugging 1,000. You know, the amount of strength it would take to shrug 1,000 pounds is unbelievable. And it took you a few months to do that. But it's been an evolution of your technique also. Your evolution of your technique started with you saying instead of doing 1,000,000 repetitions, let's figure out what's the maximum demand I can make on this muscle in the shortest period of time.
Right.
And then you did a smaller number of repetitions. And then eventually you got to the point where what static contraction really is you're holding in the strongest position of the muscle to its absolute total fatigue. So you're making the largest human demand you can on that so that the brain says, I got to have major muscle here, and it sends what's necessary to build that muscle. Is that a fair metaphorical description?
That's exactly how it happened. And the power factor, the beginning of this, our first book, we limited that range, depending on the exercise, to 4 to 6 inches of motion.
Right.
And we actually found, through all the people that were on this and the feedback we got, that people had reduced that to even 1 inch or 2 inches of motion, and then seen another quantum increase in their results, which was the beginning of when we started to put together a static contraction study, which would be no movement. You hold the weight in where you're strongest, with every muscle where you're strongest, not where you're weakest, which is A, where you fail, and B, where you get injuries, but only in the strongest range. And that made an enormous difference.
When I read your book and started seeing the static contraction led to all this and saw the measurable difference in the shorter period of time, it's an even more efficient approach, isn't it?
What's interesting is people always labor under the misapprehension that there's different fibers involved in different ranges of motion, and therefore if you only do it one range, you're only hitting some fibers. But that flies completely in the face of muscle physiology. I mean, if you flex your chest with your arm fully extended, that's every muscle fiber in your chest. And let's say theoretically that you stimulate 100% of those fibers. Well, those are the same fibers that are activated down here as there are here, as there are there. It's 100%. When you flex your bicep, you notice how it bunches up. and that's all the fibers coming in.
Right.
So if you can stimulate all the fibers in that one position, you know, what is this going to do? I mean, and certainly there's going to be a transference.
Sure.
Because it's the same muscle. It's you know, you're only dealing with a finite amount of muscle fibers there, and if they're all activated, they're all activated.
The truth of the matter is, one of the reasons I guess that people don't get the maximum growth, even though they go spend the time, right, is that they're never demanding the particular muscle fibers that give the greatest growth. I guess there's the S fibers. Maybe you can walk us through that briefly.
Well, there's different fibers, and they're recruited sequentially. And it's all force related. If you have a 10-pound dumbbell, you're only going to need slow twitch fibers to activate it or to contract it. That's all the force that's required to move it. And you know, even no matter how quickly you do it, it's still going to be slow twitch fibers that are activated.
Right.
But now you add 50 pounds to that, and you're going to get your slow twitch, and you're going to get intermediate twitch. Okay. If you put it close to maximal, you're going to get fast twitch, and also a group of fibers they call fast twitch glycolytic, which is the zenith of full activation. But because of the sequential nature of it, if you can activate the fast twitch glycolytic, you've got all your fibers. You've got slow twitch working, you've got intermediate twitch, you've got fast twitch, then you've got your fast twitch glycolytic.
So in other words, if I can make a heavy enough demand, because it's all about force, if I get the heavy demand, I go straight, I get all those fibers.
They have to recruit sequentially. And like the slow twitch will say, not enough, need more fibers. Intermediate comes in, not enough, need more fibers. Fast twitch comes in, not enough, need the top of the line. Boom, now all of them are activated. And it has nothing to do with range of motion. See, that's another misperception that's endured in health circles, is that you need to do a full range of motion, because if you don't, your muscles will foreshorten, or you will become bound, or you won't stimulate all your fibers. And that's just not true. The stimulation is simply a force requirement.
But are there any real considerations? I mean, when people just start imagining trying to lift 1,000 or 2,000 pounds.
Surprisingly, this is going to be the safest type of training you could engage in.
And the reason why is?
The simple reason is that your muscles and your joints and all the leverage systems of the body are in their optimal configuration. Injuries tend to occur, in fact, 99% of them occur, when you're at a disadvantageous structural position. For example, the exercise dumbbell flies people do to shape their chest. They go down and take a dumbbell which can weigh up to 60 pounds in some instances, and they hyperextend at the shoulder joint. And that's a pretty delicate area of articulation there with the shoulder. And that's how you're going to tear a rotator cuff. Your body is not structured to be handling heavy weights or even moderate weights in an exaggerated plane of motion. I mean, that's disadvantageous.
And the only reason they're doing that is because they have the theory that if I have the right angle, I'm going to develop this muscle more.
Despite the popular imagery of that in a magazine, you cannot isolate your muscle like that. Even your chest, there's a thing called contiguous innervation in the chest muscle, which means when the chest is activated, it's activated.
Right.
You can't just isolate. I mean, I'm going to do this portion of my calf now with a calf raise, and another. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Pete had a great analogy. We were laughing because we did a seminar once, and a fellow was asking us about muscle shaping. What about dumbbell curls to shape your biceps? And Pete said, well, when you can do Mount Rushmore and your biceps, you let me know. But women are the ones that have the most to gain from it, because throughout their lives, they're not really encouraged to strength train. They're not encouraged to. Maybe aerobics is about as much fitness as most women are told they ought to engage in.
Right.
With strength training, you talk about an unawakened giant in women. I mean, they have the same muscle physiology that we do. So, of course, their muscles are going to respond the same, but they've almost been not suppressed, but just it's all this untapped potential that's waiting there. And as soon as you marry that with proper strength training, the gains are immediate.
It is literally impossible to suddenly and unexpectedly be more muscular than you wanted to be.
Right.
It can't happen. It's like
that's because they just don't have the testosterone to be able to build the muscle.
Even for a man, you cannot suddenly and unexpectedly become more muscular than you wanted to be. Oh my God! My arm is 4 inches bigger around than I wanted it to be. It won't happen. It's no more likely than me tossing the football around in the backyard and suddenly and unexpectedly becoming Joe Montana.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just not going to creep up. It's not, boom.
So let me come back to you guys for a second. So if we want to build this strength, men want to build size.
Right.
And size comes with strength. I mean, you can't have increased size without increased strength, I guess. So unless you're doing something artificial, obviously, to bloat yourself up. You're a big guy, and you're a good-sized man, but there's a definite distinction between the two of you. We know you're shrugging 1,000 pounds.
Right.
What happened if, let's say, your bench press or...
Well, my bench press, I've never been, I'm small boned. I'm not a particularly big person genetically. And my top bench, I've never cracked 300 pounds on a full-range bench press. That was, 285 was about my limit. And with that, I was arching like a Gothic cathedral when I did it, So when we started training with the short-range training, I was anticipating, well, maybe I could support 300 pounds. I've never been able to press at full range, so 300 would be great, and I'd feel pretty good about myself. Well, within, I'd say, 5 weeks, I was doing 595 pounds for reps on it. So I was amazed with my little joints that there was absolutely zero problem in terms of no strains, no pains, certainly no injuries, and my muscles were fully capable of working in that range. And as by way of analogy, what we said in our first book was that if you're going to push a car out of a ditch, the last thing you want to do is put your hands back here, or go down to a full squat position. Because how do you generate power there? You don't. Your power is all in your last 2 inches of extension. And why is that? Well, that's where your muscles are in their strongest range. That's where your leverage-wise, you're in your optimal configuration, and that's how you generate your power. So if you could provide overload in that strongest range, it must be superior to something that's in your weakest range.
So what we're really talking about is maximizing your genetics. You're not, Franco Columbo, for example, had a different length of arm, the length of skeleton, so his muscles had a completely different shape than if you look at Lou Ferrigno or Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody else.
Well, everyone has an innate potential, just as they do mentally. I mean, you have an innate potential mentally, and everyone has an innate potential in terms of strength and muscle size and shape and all the qualities that go with it. But so few people know how to train to realize that, and unfortunately, conventional equipment does not allow you to maximize what your potential is.
So we're really talking about awakening the muscle within.
That's better.
There's a book title. Let me write that down. That's a book title.
Awaken the strength within. It really is awakening the strength within, because the strength is there. We're just not using it.
Tony, the average person walking around is using, when they do something strenuous, they're using maybe 20% of their capability, 30% at the most. The average person could be enormously stronger.
But you know what's interesting is you look at somebody like Peter Goski, who says that all the breakdowns he sees with people's pain is because of a lack of use, that we don't use the muscles. We overuse a few muscles and we don't use the others. So we're so weak that where people get hurt is bending down and pick up something off the floor and they hurt their back. And in seminars, I ask people all the time, I said, how many of you have back pain? And you get 70% of the room, and you have people in the room that are in their 20s and people in the room in their 40s, It's amazing that we are such a weak culture because we don't make demands. So this is really a way, in my mind, to make every part of you stronger so that you function better. But also, I think there's a huge change in self-esteem when you do two things. When you be the strongest you've ever been in your life, when you do something very few people have ever done, lifting a weight, etc., you look better than you ever have before, and you also know you're smarter because you're doing this in a couple of minutes. Now, let's talk about overtraining, because this is one of the secrets to this whole process. I know that when I talked to Mike Mentzer, he brought up the fact that he said everyone has a certain genetic need for light or the ability to deal with light. If you're an albino, you can take very little sunlight. If you're African American, you can take an immense amount of sunlight. Right. But what's interesting is while you're out there getting that sunlight, the difference between a tan and totally destroying everything you've done is a few seconds beyond what you're supposed to do. And what happens here, if I'm reading your study and if I'm understanding this right, is overtraining is not just wasting your time. Overtraining is destructive, and overtraining happens literally in a matter of seconds. So can you explain, how do we get overtrained? What makes that happen, and how soon does overtraining occur?
Well, overtraining occurs the moment you go back into the gym too soon. I mean, if you accept the edict that is prevailing in gym and magazine recommendations, that you start out with a 3-day-a-week program, or you do a 3-day-a-week program, for example, that's going to lead to overtraining probably within a week. But you're going to keep at it because that's what it says. That's what you got to do. So you go in there and you feel tired and sluggish and you really don't want to work out, but you're going to go through the motions, and no way are your reps or weights going up. But geez, if you could at least match what you did last time, you're going to be happy and you know you've had a workout. Right. But that's overtraining. It's the very moment that you cease to make progress, you're overtrained.
And that's your test, isn't it?
Absolutely. The minute your numbers don't go up, you're overtrained.
Your progress has to be progressive. Remember how you make the muscle grow. It has to be progressive. So when you go back in the gym and you can't improve all of your lifts, you came back too soon.
So when you say the measurement is the increase in weight or the increase in time.
Exactly. Work in the unit of time. Right.
Exactly. Right. And it's one or the other. Either the weight went up or the time you could hold it went up.
Either way, you can measure that you've gotten stronger.
Yeah,
and if you haven't gotten stronger, then the body hasn't recovered yet.
Exactly.
And so you're getting in the gym too soon. So now you're tearing down. I don't know if tearing down is the right term because I know that's used and it's not really accurate.
Right.
But you're going into your reserves.
You're depleting yourself.
And you're depleting yourself. And you're not building at that stage. Let's talk about your actual study. Let's talk about the first study you did, because I know you've refined this quite a bit. first study, I guess you worked with mostly bodybuilders, right?
Yeah, the first study,
Absolutely.
you got to remember, the Power Factor book was out, and this is when we learned that the static contraction showed real promise.
Right.
So we organized a study, and the logical people for us to use was to draw from this enormous pool we had of people that had been doing Power Factor training, and we'd been in contact with all along.
And then, by the way, I want to point out something about that. These people are from 58 countries, a lot of those people that had the experience. They had a lot of different genetic backgrounds. So a lot of people think, well, maybe somebody had genetically. And the average age of the people you worked with was 38 and a half.
Yep. 38 and a half,
So it wasn't like you went and just worked with a bunch of young kids.
Yeah, normally the kind of studies you'd see in physiology journals and things are typically college-age people who volunteer for those studies. So you take people that are 38 years old, that's a harder group of people to put results on. The second thing is they, by definition, came out of the Power Factor training camp. So these were guys that had already been hoisting heavy iron and strongest range and making terrific gains.
Right.
So again, to show increases on those people, that's quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge. They're older, they're already well developed, very well developed. But we engineered a study, we put them on it for 10 weeks, and we had different protocols of guys who did it 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and once a week. They had very simple exercises to do, and they would hold the weight for 15 to 30 seconds was the time frame we were working for. So the idea is, say you're doing a bench press, you're holding 200 pounds. If you hold it for 15 seconds, the next time you work out, you try and get up to 30 seconds. When a person got to 30 seconds, it was time to increase the weight to knock them back down towards 15.
Okay, I see.
So that is what they did. Well, in 10 weeks of working out, those people saw enormous increases in their strength. A strength increase of over 50% in 10 weeks. That's an enormous increase in so little time, because you're doing 6 exercises. When you go into the gym, you do 6 exercises, and at that time, as I say, 30 seconds is a maximum. That would be 3 minutes.
3-minute workout, and guys, I was reading the study, guys were adding 28 pounds of muscle mass in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Even the average amongst 38-and-a-half-year-old guys.
And losing
in 10
fat
weeks.
at the same time.
And losing 5 pounds of fat, if I remember.
And put an inch on their arm and inch and 3/4 on their chest.
3 minutes.
All the things, exactly.
And these guys have not been able to do that.
And Tony, and since then we found out they were doing it too long.
But what also blew me away and what sold me on the static contraction, where you're just holding it, was that you also found, I know you measured these guys to see what their maximum single rep would be.
That's right.
And then on each one of these exercises, and then what their maximum full range of motion for 10 reps would be. Right. And the full range of motion for 10 reps went up, 34%, 35%?
Yeah, almost 35%, yeah.
And they weren't even doing full range of motion.
No. That's right.
So that's where you really prove something that's extraordinary in physiology.
Yeah, they were doing no range of motion whatsoever for 10 weeks. And then when they go back in the gym, and remeasure those full range exercises, 1 rep maximum and 10 rep maximum. Both of those went up, 30%.
Well, let's talk about a sport that more people can relate to, golf. Why don't you share with people a little bit about that study?
This was our first step outside of bodybuilding, and we wanted to pick something that was quite different from bodybuilding. Driving a golf ball has one of the most exaggerated ranges of motion of any sport.
Right, if you're ever going to see whether or not static contraction worked, that would be the sport where you really have to
So
use
you have people strength train with 0 range of motion. What does that do on something that requires a very exaggerated range of motion and yet requires power?
Right.
So we took a group of people at a private club here in Boise, 4 men, 4 women, and we just did a very methodical study. We took them out to a driving range, measured how far they could drive a ball. Then we put them on 6 weeks of training, and this time we reduced it 10 to 20 seconds on the hold time.
So instead of going up to 30, you said the maximum they're going to hold is 20 seconds.
The results of that, again, confirmed what we suspected all along. When we got them back out on the driving range and they hit the ball, they all hit the ball further. And they had all kinds of other comments on how it improved their game, their short iron game and their fatigue, and they could play another 9 holes after 18 without the fatigue they'd had before.
Well, plus I saw that the overall strength increase amongst all these people was 84%.
Yeah, one woman was 110%.
84%. Yeah, in 6 weeks. This was 6 weeks this time. And again, without taking those people these people were more typical. And remember, our first study was the guys that had already been pumping heavy iron. Right. These people are more typical, 80% increase in their strength in 6 weeks. Well, these people did over a 6-week period of time, they did 18 minutes of exercise.
Total.
Yeah,
Total
that was
time.
it, yeah.
Total. Over a 6-week period, 18 minutes of exercise.
And they're ripping the golf ball.
But I'll tell you what we liked about it, too, is that it successfully challenged the existing paradigm in golf, which was technique and equipment. Strength wasn't even in the pie graph for that. Because it was always, I mean, you have graphite clubs, you get a lighter club. It's the technique, it's the swing, it's the arc of travel of the head of the club. And it just struck us that the old adage of a stronger golfer or a stronger athlete being a better athlete would hold true. So if we took, that's why we wanted older golfers, in fact, people whose technique was down. They weren't learning new techniques, so they couldn't say, well, it was new neuromuscular training. It was people with very firmly established habits and swing patterns. And we just made them stronger and took them out, and the result was showed that, you know, it is the muscles are the engine that drives the body. So you make it stronger, you're going to move more efficiently, and maybe, the reason people have moved to lighter clubs is simply because they've gotten weaker, and it's easier to generate more velocity with a lighter club.
That makes so much sense. You know, one of the things that I teach people is that when you discipline yourself in one area of your life, it tends to spill over to other areas. And when someone begins to feel strong physically, it's the first place I try to go. They start to feel strong mentally. What's so incredible about this is you don't just affect your golf game, you affect your whole self-esteem, your whole mindset, and you're doing it in such a short period of time. In fact, one of the things I thought was interesting in this particular study was that the women actually worked out the least, because the guys, they just couldn't give up working out more times per week. And the women actually worked out the least and got the most growth. Now, why was that?
That's true.
For the very reason you just said.
The very reason they trained less often.
You need time to recover and time for growth. And many guys stimulate the growth. They allow recovery to take place, then they train again. So they short-circuit the growth. It's the final part of the tri-phase, which is required for to maximize your muscle growth. Even the so-called high-intensity theorists were saying that you needed about 72 hours between workouts. But if you went too far, if you went 96 hours, then you're going to decompensate. Any strength you built, you're going to lose it. So you had to get back in the gym, and they had all sorts of things like, you know, the 3-day-a-week routine was perfect because the body's anticipating a workout on Sunday. It doesn't come Sunday, you've confused it, and then Monday it gets hit. And, you know, it's like, you know, like...
But it never figures out that cycle repeats.
Yeah, that's right.
The same body that makes your heart beat 100,000 times a day without you ever thinking about it is not intelligent enough to know. To
the 3-day-a-week thing just flummoxes it. So it happened that we couldn't see each other for 8 weeks to work out. And we came back to the gym after an 8-week period. We figured, you know what, we are going to be so weak. We'd better take it pretty easy because, you know, it's been a while. It's been 8 weeks. We haven't done anything. Well, we went into the gym and found not only were we not weak, we set personal strength records and everything we did after
all 5
exercises. 8-week layoff.
Big jumps after 8 weeks. And the fact is, there is there's a mathematical relationship happening here. What happens when you're working out, you're getting progressively stronger, the amount of recovery that your body has to do, the subsystems of the body that are supporting all this activity in the gym, the amount of work that they have to do increases. So by definition, the stronger you get, the longer it takes your body to recover. You know, you might get 40% stronger, but your kidney doesn't get 40% bigger.
And it's got to get lactic acid or whatever.
That's right. All those waste products have to be taken care of. So as you get stronger, by definition, the time between your workouts has to get further and further apart, because now you're not bench pressing 150 pounds anymore. You're bench pressing 450 pounds. Right. Yeah. And those workouts get further and further apart. Now, how far apart can they get? We already have many people that are training once every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, possibly they could get it back into the gym a little sooner if they wanted to, but they're busy people and they don't. And
they're not losing muscle mass, which is the whole reason you go in there. I mean, it's like
they're getting stronger.
And they're getting stronger
every time.
Yeah,
so you haven't lost anything. You've stayed out of the gym for 6 weeks and you haven't lost anything. In fact, you've gained. And then you go, you know, your numbers go up again. And so it goes. I mean, we really see...
And these aren't isolated cases either.
No,
these are,
we really see a time when strength training is commonly recognized to be a minute or two of training about as often as you get a haircut.
Amazing.
If you are just starting out, you can probably go to the gym twice a week, Monday and Thursday, say.
Okay.
And you might be able to do that for 2 weeks. But once you get beyond that 2 weeks, you're going to have to go once a week. And that
have to, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm going to have to go for
You're not going to be able to go more.
Wait a second. How much time is
and
this?
And at that, Tony, each time you go to the gym, you only do half the exercises.
Well, you mean the 6? Or
you do
12
6,
total?
then there's 12.
right.
So you do 6 exercises, and then it's a week until you do the other 6, and then another week until you get back to those first ones again. So those individual muscle groups have had 2 weeks off at that point.
Right.
And that just keeps multiplying out. So the point is, you always see progress.
Yeah.
You're not losing anything by staying out of the gym. It's a 1 to 2 minutes of exercise.
Let's be real specific now, so people watching home, this is what you do. Tell us.
It's a very simple recipe to this. First of all, the next time you go in the gym, there's the exercises are in the book. There's 6 you do one day and 6 you do on the other day you go to the gym. They're all common exercises. You've done them before. There's no secret exercises in there. They're the most common exercises that are known. You're going to select a weight to start out. For most people, is about 50% more than the most you ever work with.
Okay.
That's a pretty good rule of thumb for most people.
Okay.
You're going to say in a bench press, you're going to.
So if you were benching 200 before, you'd literally get 300 pounds.
You get 300 pounds.
Wow.
Absolutely.
All right. And it's already going to be in a position that's locked out this way.
So you're going to have somebody help you get it.
It's on a power rack or it's on the hooks. It's configured in such a way that you don't have to lift it off your chest.
Or you have a buddy.
Yeah.
That's right, because you can't lift it off your chest.
And you want safeties, too, in case it does break
so it won't come
what
down.
you need.
You're going to take the weight out of the locked out position, bring it down about 1 inch or 2, and then hold it there.
For how long?
You want to hold it for a minimum of 10 seconds.
Okay. How do you know it's done? How do you know your 10 seconds? I mean, how do you know it's the right weight, I guess?
It should be coming down at that
There's
point.
a threshold. You don't want to go beyond 20 seconds. So suppose you used to bench pressing 200 pounds, you pick 300 pounds. And the first time out, you hold it 28 seconds. Now, you went a little low. You should have gone 325 pounds.
Right.
So you'll know next time.
Okay.
But the whole time, each workout, you're keeping the time you hold the weight between the threshold of 10 seconds and 20 seconds. You hold it 10 seconds, supposing you can only hold it 10 seconds.
Right, so the way you know you can't hold any more is literally it'll start to come down.
It starts coming down.
Right. And so if I can hold it without it coming down for 15, then I'm at 15. If I'm over 20, I don't have enough weight.
You don't have enough weight.
Okay, I got it. So then the next time I go in, I try to hold it for a longer time, but not more than 20. If I get more than 20, then I'm stronger, and what do I do?
You add more weight next time.
How much?
Probably 10 to 20% more weight.
If I can hold it past 20, then I'm too light again.
Exactly.
How long does this go on for?
It goes on until you get to these enormous weights that we're talking about. And frankly, the limitation that we've had up until now is finding equipment that will support the really super high weights that we're talking about.
Right, because you guys have been doing this for 2 years, and you've continually progressed.
Yeah.
We've certainly progressed to
We've
the
maxed
limit
out the
of
machines.
equipment.
Yeah. When you were doing the 900-pound pull down on hammer, had to put a barbell over it.
Pull down.
Yeah, we had to put a barbell over it with plates on top of that because you couldn't fit more plates on it.
So then what's the ultimate promise?
I think it liberates you from the gym. It liberates you from supplement hucksters. It liberates you from false information, which can send you spending years going down blind alleys and perhaps something even worse, killing the spirit to keep in shape, which happens. You see so many people that go into a gym, they'll try it and do what Pete was indicating, which is just sort of arbitrary workouts. They'll hit a plateau and then that's it. And they'll never try it again because they had such a bad experience of it. This gives you a means to see progress. You mentioned how your confidence spills over into other areas of life, and certainly that's the case with static contraction training.
Listen, I want you to make sure you get the books. You'll see them coming on the screen right now. Make sure you get yourself educated and apply this. Don't just watch this videotape, because there's detailed information in there that'll help you along the way. Tell everybody you can about it. They have an internet site, a website. What's your website?
PrecisionTraining.com.
Great. So make sure you check them out over there. And thanks for watching, and thank you guys. I had a blast with you. I never thought it'd be so much fun to work out.
Tony, thanks so much.
You're awesome. Go out and build some strength. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Love, joy, passion, energy, excitement, breaking through, transforming, making that difference. Isn't that what we're all made for? We're all made to have a life that is extraordinary. And I really invite you to continue this journey now by picking up your tapes or your CDs and beginning the first stage of this program. Or if you already have, then come join us for some live coaching and a seminar. I'd love to meet you personally and hear the story of your success. Till then, don't settle for less than you can be, and be sure every day to live with passion.